It's not easy to do an attractive commercial video these days without some huge stunt effects. At Airbus Helicopters, they have it covered. This huge European aviation corporation decided to show its new ACH-160 helicopter together with a Formula One car from Renault team. Both machines have been racing together on the Paul Ricard racetrack at Le Castellet in France. The result was, well, it doesn't really matter. It was all about the show. We've got all this week's stories from the sky, so thanks for joining us. My name's Regan Tetlow, and this is Airsports News. Harrison Ford is definitely one of the most popular general aviation pilots from Hollywood. A few months ago, we reported his problems with maintaining his license. Now, everything seems to be looking okay for him. Harrison Ford has completed a remedial runway incursion training course and has been cleared to continue flying after an incident at Hawthorne Airport in Los Angeles. After being told to hold short for an aircraft on the short finals by the controller, the 76-year-old actor crossed the runway, almost causing a collision with the landing Boeing 737. After passing the special course, authorities closed the case with no additional action against the pilot. We hope to see you again in the air, Harrison. With pure battery-powered aircraft still short on endurance, hydrogen fuel cell technology is getting traction. And in the UK last week, ZeroAvia flew their first commercially viable aircraft, a Piper N-class airframe, on a combination of batteries and fuel cells. This flight was part of the UK's High Flyer research project that aims at creating reduced carbon aviation power plants. This week's demonstration marked the first time hydrogen fuel cells have been added to the power mix. The flight was a short one, but ZeroAvia states that by the end of the year, the company will demonstrate a 300-mile flight at about 200 knots. The organisers of the York Balloon Fiesta in the UK are optimistic about next year, and apart from the persistent coronavirus pandemic, they're planning a unique event in the spring of 2021. Organisers hope they can come back better and help to bring Yorkshire the biggest balloon fiesta they've ever seen, and hopefully put a smile on people's faces once again. The Balloon Fiesta, bringing approximately 50 hot air balloons to the city every year and 35,000 visitors, is already the biggest in Yorkshire and has grand ambitions. In 2021, York Balloon Fiesta will be part of a bank holiday planned to take place from the 28th till the 31st of May. So who's got the Xbox at home? If you have it, now you can compete with the best drone racing pilots, challenging your best times on the most difficult tracks all over the world. The game comes packed with 25 unique maps, 18 DRL tracks to let users race like the pros, multiplayer modes and a training centre. You can even build custom drones that act the same as they would in real life. So wherever you live, it is up to you to become the new drone master. The 2020 DRL official season takes place on the same DRL sim platform, with the pilots flying their custom-built Racer 4 drones. The season is broadcasting to 50 countries on NBC, NBCSN, Twitter, Facebook and other social media platforms. My first guest this week is a paraglider, science writer and editor of the Dutch paragliding magazine Lift. She has just published the English version of a great new book called Paragliding, The Beginner's Guide. It's Bastian Lenzel.
But it seems every time I open Facebook now, more and more and more skydivers are paragliding.
Yeah, well, I should ask you, basically, why is that? I can only agree that it's so much better. But
I was reading in your little article that paragliding is the most popular form of pleasure flying now, is that right?
Well, in numbers, probably not, because we're a small number still, but it's probably the most accessible form of free flight because it's cheap. You can learn it in just a few days. You can get the basics and go out there and fly on your own. You can fly anywhere basically, so it's accessible. It's not too hard. It's quite safe in statistics. So you don't need a plane to get you into the air like with skydiving. So yeah, I think it's really accessible. That might be the appeal of it.
You don't need $30 a go either. That's another point.
Well, you do need to get up to the hill, which
Yeah.
I mean, you have a bus or a van or a lift or something, a chairlift, but it's cheap altogether. Yeah.
Even the Secretary General of the FAI, Marcus Hagenay, has started paragliding now as well.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he keeps sending me WhatsApps with his images there. So the idea of the book, where did this come from?
Well, a couple of years after I started paragliding, and I did it together with my husband, Erwin, we became assistant instructors, and then my husband went on to be an instructor, and we both started to teach theory courses, because to get your license, of course, you need some background. And there's a couple of schools that do short theory courses in the Netherlands, but a couple had quit. So we decided to take it on to ourselves to start with that. And doing these courses, people always asked us, what can we read? Where's the book? Where's the training manual? And we always had, there was a Dutch manual, but that was getting really, really old, and some of the information was incorrect. And then we always had to point them to the German or the English guides, which were at the time fine. But a lot of people don't want to read in English or German. So what we did, one summer that was a bit quiet for me as a freelance science writer, I just decided I'll just start writing and see where it ends.
This interview was much longer than you've just seen, so don't hesitate to watch it on our YouTube channel. The Airbus A380 was to become an aviation legend for the coming decades. The largest passenger aircraft in the world had outstanding orders of 1,200 aircraft, but the pandemic has changed everything. The last A380 has rolled off the assembly line in Toulouse, France, ending the production run at just 242 aircraft. The last A380 is owned by Emirates, but there is still some questions whether it will enter service for the airline. Emirates operates more than half the fleet and has already set 2035 as the end of service date for this type. Since there is virtually no second-hand market for the aircraft, it appears most will head for the scrap. So as an air sports commentator for the last 16 years, I can tell you that being live at an event is second to none. There was a real excitement and a thrill to bringing the action to the public, be it on a live stream or over the PA system to the fans on location. To find out more about this incredible role, I spoke with air show announcer and pilot Luke Carrico.
Well, you're a pilot, you're an air show announcer. Not been an easy year for you, my friend.
You know, I'll tell you, this year has been one of those years, and it's been, I think, unprecedented is the word that has been used over and over so far. But you know, like I think for me personally, I think I had around 17 air shows on my calendar this year, and I might be lucky to get 4. So it's been a difficult year for the air show industry because of the health situation going on, but we're starting to see some drive-in air show formats and some creative ideas, and we're seeing that not only here in the U.S. but even internationally as well. So I'm optimistic about next year. I think we'll come back strong.
Oh, it was quite frustrating sometimes with the announcer when he was choosing to speak. So when the display is right here, you're not going to hear him. And,
You're not.
And he carries on. You think, I'm missing all the stuff. That's a key, isn't it? That's a skill itself, knowing when to speak.
It is very much so, and every type of act should be presented differently, and it kind of depends on the type of routine. Obviously, if you've got, say, a Harrier hovering, you're not going to talk over that. But you know, usually in between the maneuvers, especially for warbirds, because a lot of people just want to sit there and enjoy the sounds that the radial engines put off or those aircraft put off. So, yeah, the timing, of course, is very good in ensuring that you get all your stuff out, and to also keep into consideration the crowd line as well, because at times it can be thousands of feet long, and you got to keep in consideration 2 of those, either far left or far right. And usually for me, and you and I, we usually end up right there at show center, which, hey, we get the best seats in the house.
Before you go, we've got to get you to say a smoke on. Let's hear it.
Smoke on.
Oh, yes, there it is.
The full-length interview with Luke is now available on our YouTube channel. Now let's check out who is our hero of the week. On the 28th of September 1920, the 5th Gordon Bennett Aviation Trophy races were held. The trophy was sponsored by an American businessman, James Gordon Bennett Jr., publisher of the New York Herald newspaper. Gordon Bennett had previously sponsored the James Gordon Bennett Cup for yachting, the Gordon Bennett Cup for automobile racing, and the Coupe Aeronautique Gordon Bennett for ballooning. The airplane races were held annually from 1909 until 1913. In those years, the race had been won twice by France, once by the United Kingdom, and twice by the United States. Like the Coupe d'Aviation, Maritime Jacques Schneider Cup for seaplanes, the nation which won the race 3 times consecutively would be awarded a permanent trophy. Because of the World War, no races were held from 1914 to 1919. On the 26th of September 2008, Yves Rossi flew across the English Channel using his jet-powered wing. At 8,000 feet over Calais, he jumped from an airplane and aimed for the cliffs of Dover. His only means of steering was by moving his head. After flying at speeds of 120 miles per hour, he parachuted to the ground at Dover. On the 27th of September 1946, Geoffrey de Havilland, chief test pilot of the de Havilland aircraft and the son of the firm's founder, was killed during a test flight of the prototyped DH-108 Swallow aircraft. As he approached the very high speeds close to the sound barrier, the shockwaves built up along the wing's leading edges, disrupting the airflow and causing them to stall. Happy birthday to Jerzy Makula, born on the 29th of September 1952. He is the most talented Polish glider aerobatic pilot. He was a world champion in the discipline 7 times, and he was also 3 times European champion. Now, he's the CEO of the Polish Aero Club. On the 29th of September 1940, a mid-air collision occurred over Brockensby, New South Wales, Australia. The accident was unusual in that the 2 aircraft, the Avro Ansons involved, remained locked together after colliding and then landed safely. All 4 crewmen survived the incident, and the upper Anson was repaired and returned to flight service. On October 1st, 1881, William Edward Boeing was born. He was an American aviation pioneer who founded the Boeing Company in 1916. Today, the Boeing Company is producing more than 300 civil airplanes per year and more than 200 military aircraft per year. The company employs over 160,000 people, so William Boeing will be proud of the company. And that's all we have for you today in our programme. Don't forget to write to us at news@airsportspromotion.com, or you can get in touch with me directly on Twitter. There is also our new platform, airsportsfan.com, available, so don't forget to check it out. It was a pleasure to meet you again back here this week, and we'll see you hopefully next week. So remember, as always, stay safe and keep your eyes on the skies.